Hello and welcome to this GLP TV programme, and thank you for taking the time to click in. We have an exciting lineup of guests today from all over Europe, some going to be joining me here in studio in Canary Wharf in London, and some will be connecting up with us virtually as we explore today's topic, which is placemaking. What is it and what role is it playing in logistics? Here in the studio is Gwyn Stubbings.
Hi Paul.
He's Planning Director for GLP and also Chair of the British Property Federation's Industrial Committee. And joining via Zoom is Natali Cooper, who was GLP's Head of Portfolio Asset Management and ESG for Europe. Hi Natali.
Hello Paul.
Tell us a little bit more, particularly about GLP in Europe and your own role in GLP.
So GLP is a global company. We develop, invest and manage logistics buildings across the world. And in Europe in particular, we are present in 12 countries. So as at March 2022, we were managing 277 assets with 7.4 million square meters under management and 1 million square meters under development. So my role at GLP in Europe is heading portfolio and asset management strategies to ensure consistency across our approach in terms of governance, compliance and systems and best practices being shared across all our countries, and also heading ESG for Europe.
Okay, so that's the broad outline. And tell us a bit more about the philosophy of it. You're head of ESG, and ESG has become more and more important in recent years, hasn't it?
Oh, definitely. ESG has become increasingly important for the real estate industry. But GLP has a long tradition or history of being a pioneer in logistics. Back in 2004, GLP actually launched an eco-template to promote sustainability, environmental logistic buildings. And we did share at the time this framework with our customers and our competition to raise awareness around sustainability, environmental friendly buildings, as well as tackling, carbon emissions for the construction sector.
And then what about you as developers? How do you see ESG playing there? What role does it play?
I mean, considering that, the real estate industry, construction and managing building present or generate 40% of the global carbon footprint, it's essential to us to ensure that at the stage of designing a building, at the stage of, and we're going to speak to that, finding land and dealing with that, we factor in ESG approach in terms of materials, in terms of design, in terms of layout, in terms of equipment, and embedding principles of renewable materials, but also recycling, ensuring that things that we do through construction is minimizing negative impact on the environment, but also now that we speak as well as enhancing biodiversity. So there's a lot of aspects that we can factor through the construction phase and the development phase of our buildings.
Okay, and coming to the final bit, as a manager, what's the role with your customers and then also with the people who work in the buildings?
As I said before, the 360 approach and perspective we've taken is that we need to have long-term ethical relationship with our customers, with all our stakeholders. And we believe that working in partnership with our customers and understanding as well what are the requirements as they need are essentials for us to have very much targeted measures that would help them as well in occupying the space. And more increasingly, we have demand for customers to ensure that our buildings are not only, fit for purpose in reducing energy demand and transitioning to renewable energy, but as well, nice environment for their own employees. The well-being aspects has really increased and became a much bigger focus for our customers as well. So working with them in partnership is essential.
Thank you, Natali. Gwyn, coming to you then, some of that, how does it feed into your role as Head of Planning for GLP?
Yes, thanks, Paul. My role, within my role, I'm responsible for taking our development proposals through the planning and permitting system, and really trying to ensure that they're delivered quickly and really in the best possible and most sustainable way, really. So planning is really right at the start of that development journey, part of the, at the start of the cycle. It's where we start to really master plan our proposals, not just in terms of the site and the land that they're going to sit on, but also trying to sort of recognise what's around our land and the sites we want to develop. So how can our proposals integrate into local communities, really?
GLP has been at the forefront of creating environments that have an identity, would you say?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, placemaking is central to our proposals. For me, I see very much, placemaking around creating a legacy. So, once we've developed a site, that we can look back on it and be proud of what we've achieved and what we've established within a particular location, really.
How do you set about then, once you've decided on this placemaking idea, how do you set about creating it within the parks that you have?
Yeah, it's really trying to get an appreciation and an acknowledgement of that kind of wider context that I referred to earlier. So getting an appreciation of the land, the topography, the history, that may relate to a site. If we take Magna Park Lutterworth, for example, that was an historic military airfield. So, recognising its previous use and acknowledging its history, really.
Well, we'll come to that in a minute. But first, also, Natali, bringing you back in, the buildings that are in these parks as well, they're very important. What is the new standard that you're working to with the buildings?
It's true that, through decades, there was a long focus on the envelope, the outside of the buildings. But now we're moving into understanding how we can have better and better facilities for people occupying and working on logistics space, including elements that are favorable to, well-being, health and safety have always been a major point in logistic buildings. But now there's an appreciation that buildings are not only fit for delivery, distribution needs for any business or any, light manufacturing or production lines, is also ensuring that the people inside are working in a better working environment. So we're working with specialists and consultants on how to tackle the air quality, the acoustics, the lighting in the buildings. So it's much more appropriate for long hours of work, because as we all know, labor and workforce is essential for our businesses, is a big part of what we do. So retaining talent has become an increasingly more important factor for our customers, especially in the logistics sectors.
Gwyn, you've been very involved with Magna Park Lutterworth. Tell us a bit about it.
Yeah, so it's a really exciting project, and I think as demand for logistics space continues to grow, I think at GLP we're fully committed to creating environmentally sensitive logistics parks, and no more so than at Magna Park Lutterworth. But yeah, no, it goes way beyond just delivering grade A sustainable logistics buildings. It's looking at that placemaking. It's looking at how such a large logistics park, which ultimately will extend to somewhere in the region of 1,300 acres. How do you sort of fit that into the local environment? How does it integrate and relate to the local communities around it? And as part of our proposals for Magna Park North, we're bringing forward a 200-acre community country park, so that'll be fully accessible to the local community with walkways and fishing lakes and cycle paths.
Well, some of those walkways are also, they go back to that original planting that you did. There were over 1 million trees, which
That's
are now
right.
very mature.
Yeah, so part of the original Magna Park development, we created Magna Wood, so we planted over 1 million trees there to really kind of screen the development, and also kind of create this very aesthetic and pleasing kind of working environment. So kind of quite a park-led approach to it, with wide boulevards, tree planted boulevards. So plenty of people out walking and running at lunchtime, for example.
Well, it's also an actively managed estate. So let's take a look at a short film that we made. Here's Nikki Campbell talking to Angela Jeffries about managing the estate.
But it's not just about buildings. All around is an actively managed landscape, which provides amenity space not just for the people who work here, but also for the local community.
And looking after it all is Angela Jeffrey. Angela, what can you tell us about the park bit of Magna Park? I mean, how big is it?
So I manage Magna Park Central, which is 550 acres of land. Once the new areas in Magna Park North and South are completed, then that will be 1,300 acres of land.
Wow. And what are some of the special features of the park?
So special features are that Magna Park began in 1987, and you'll see the surrounding woods. We planted over 1 million trees. We're still planting trees today, and on World Earth Day recently we planted some trees with local community volunteers. We have regular dog walkers, and we also have some of the people from the businesses fishing in the lakes as well.
So Angela, how do you look after your tenants whilst also supporting the local community?
I have regular communication with the businesses and produce a newsletter. During the pandemic, we used the honey from our bees to make hand sanitizer, and we distributed that to the local schools. We also have community fun days, and we're coming up to our 5th annual charity bike ride. So we don't stand still.
You
on Magna
don't,
Park.
keep yourselves very busy. Meanwhile, behind me, this historic building has undergone a £3 million renovation and to transform it into CLEAR, the Centre for Logistics, Education and Research, a university-partnered logistics academy and campus to prepare students for careers within the industry.
And the final thing as well, the foundation, the foundation fund that you were set up with the businesses in the park, how does that work? What's the...
Yeah, so it was another really sort of community-led initiative. We established a Magna Park Community Fund. So we make funds available for local charities, organisations. So there's a sort of a catchment area around the park itself. So any sort of organisations, charities, businesses, that sports clubs, for example, that are within that sort of radius, they're able to apply for funds, and I think it's a 5-year project, and within the first year alone, we donated in the region of £500,000 to local charities and organisations.
What sort of things did that fund? What sort of...
All sorts of things, really, like a really sort of wide and broad variety of different initiatives, defibrillators, electric cars for community groups to transport sort of elderly and disabled people around, supporting local football clubs, the Scouts, you know, a really broad variety of things, village hall improvements. It's really far-reaching, and the great thing about it is it brings us into contact with all of those individual organisations and charities, so we can start to develop those relationships. As a business, we're now measuring our social value. So at Magnitude 314 Development, we were able to commission a social value report, and that's done through data collection and monitoring, and through doing that we're able to generate a social value figure. And to get to this figure, we need to assess a number of sort of key identified themes, such as skills and employment. So how many local people do we employ during the construction period is one particular metric. Another is around promoting local and responsible businesses. So where can we use a local business as much as possible, and there's a lot of benefits in doing that, because it tends to reduce, you know, mileage to site and things like that. So that's another kind of key metric. Also working with local communities, so creating stronger and healthier communities. What can we do during that construction phase to integrate and engage with local communities? And that might be sort of volunteering initiatives, so, you know, working in, you know, community halls and things like that, or food banking, something like that. And then also around the environment as well, and protecting it and improving the environment. So how do we, you know, how do we reduce all the waste that comes out of the construction site? So, you know, looking at recycling and reusing materials and things like that. So through looking at all those sort of key metrics, we're able to come up with a social value figure. And at Magnitude 314, that figure was £4.8 million. which was, you can break that down then into sort of economic value, which was 2.6 million, and the social value, which was 2.2 million.
And now this is a philosophy, Natali, that you're embedding in all your projects all over Europe.
Yes, so that's something that we do for all our UK, because in the UK you have a standard called TUMS, which give you guidance and is measurable, actually, as Gwyn mentioned, initiatives and targets you can follow. And then you have a third party, which is assessing that you are achieving the targets based on the TUMS measurement framework. The difficulty we are encountering outside of the UK is finding similar standards. Unfortunately, a lot of things that we do in ESG, international standards are limited, and European standards even more. So when we can transfer guidance or frameworks from the UK to Europe, we try to do that. The difficulty is finding these assessment and certifying companies that could deliver similar jobs outside of the UK. So we're working very hard in trying to ensure that we can be up to a level of standards and not just getting an accreditation just for the sake of getting it. It needs to be reputable, it needs to be credible, and it needs to be meaningful. So that's something that we've been really working on with our consultant, is defining the standards or finding suitable standards.
Okay, well, let's take a look at what's going on around Europe in the many different parks that are under management or development by GLP. And while we're at it, we'll take a look at what goes into making a place where it all happens. Joining us from the Czech Republic is Jan Palek. Hello, Jan.
Hello, Paul.
Tell us what's been happening at Krastani.
Well, a lot has been happening there. It's a great example of a modern and smart logistic project which we have delivered in a bespoke manner for one of our long-term customers, company Alza. Alza is a #1 e-commerce company in the Czech Republic, but not only here, but also expanding quickly into Slovakia, Hungary, Austria, and Germany, and other countries around in Europe. And they are the most advantaged technology. Mainly, they pay attention to their delivery to their customer. They say, order by thought, deliver by teleport. And that's what they want to do. They do really pay attention how quickly they deliver their product, their goods to the end customer.
How do you go about picking the location?
Location is always the most important element of the project development. And there is the basic rule in the commercial real estate, which is only 3 words. It's a location, location, and location. And that's what we always pay attention to the most. In here, this particular location is right at the edge of the city. It's on the ring road, D0, and it's on the main motorway from Prague to Czech and German border, D5 motorway. So that was the main driver why we picked it and why we decided to develop such a facility here. Working closely with the local authority is always very, 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 very important because we as a GLP want to be part of the municipality, and therefore we try to support them in various activities. We try to help them with our expertise to, we try to also build parks and pavements, trails. And in this particular case, we have participated by delivering design and permitting, and also buying a land necessary for road bypass. That was very important for this project and had to be delivered prior to construction start.
And what does placemaking mean to you?
It's the core of our strategy when developing projects. And I believe that our projects should serve to people, not the other way around. And therefore, we try to always integrate our developments into its surroundings with the minimum impact possible. We are always trying to offer green space around the buildings. And for example, Our park in Hrastany is opened to a public and is equipped with greenery, with disc golf playground, with chill out zones, relax zones, food truck zones. So it's always important to really deliver and make it working for the municipality and the people and our customers. Environmental and sustainable elements are very important, and we always pay attention to it during the project development. We have built and delivered an intelligent lighting in the building that also helps to save energy. And we have delivered a number of systems that helps to our customers operate the buildings in the most flexible and, say, efficient way.
So how did the project at Hrastany come about?
From the beginning, we have worked very closely with the local municipality because their feedback is always very important. And we built a lot of infrastructure before we started the main construction to make sure that everything will go in the right sequence. And yeah, as we facilitated and managed and helped to buy land, which was important for the road bypass. And it was also meant to be delivered and had to be delivered before the construction started. And we aim to invest in the local infrastructure projects that are important to local municipalities. We improve water supply networks, wastewater treatments, plants, parks, and traffic solutions. Then we cooperate closely with our customers. In this case, it was ALSA. And we wanted to build, and the plan was to build for them a place that creates one of the most modern distribution centers in the world. The cooperation with ALSA always has been very, very important part of this project because ALSA has invested more than 1 billion Czech crowns, which is approximately 50 million euros into this project themselves. They have been implementing in the building so-called auto store technology, which is one of the largest installations of such a system in Europe these days. More than 400 robots will be operating in the building. And the movements of the goods between the city's sites will be provided by 2.5 kilometers of conveyor belts.
And what were some of the special features that you included in the park?
The whole project from design to completion, and I think this is important to mention, has been delivered in a system BIM, Building Information Management, that allows a smart design coordination and construction. However, we want to go one step farther and do the extra mile. And this system also will be used for facility and property management. And it will be based for a platform that will be operated by our facility company called Twiggies. Other systems and other features includes a smart technology that reduces cost and make the business easier for our customers. And as a practical example, one of the technology which we have delivered is intelligent management and data collections, as we call it. For example, we will be monitoring functionality and load of all the mechanical and electrical services in the building. And we will be providing this, or the system will be providing such a data to our customers, in this case to ALSA, so they will see immediately what is going on in the building. And it allows them to adjust and alter their operation to be smarter, efficient, use less energy, and operate the building in much efficient manner. All in all, we invest a lot of time and energy into such a technologies. And we just want to make those buildings functional, flexible, however, servicing our clients, not the other way around.
Thanks, Jan. And now I'm joined in the studio by Nere Herrera, Core Construction Director for GLP Europe. Nere, welcome.
Hi, thank you, Paul.
First, tell us a little bit about what you do.
So I work across all our schemes in Europe. We have a quite big team in our 12 operating countries, very diverse the way we build, and we try to standardize, to try to keep as consistent as possible the product we offer, and trying to improve and trying to give the best standard we can.
Okay, well, tell us about some of the modern construction processes that address the climate change issue, which is part of that ESG remit.
So we have rethinked the way we approach our new developments holistically. We are working with our virtual teams from day zero because climate risk and carbon issues need to be considered from the beginning, even from planning stage. So it's important to have architects, engineers, contractors, subcontractors on board sharing the same objectives from the beginning.
Yes, because that reducing carbon, it does take the whole team to be on the subject, to nip away at all the little bits wherever you can.
It will, for us, it will only be a successful project if we work as a team together.
So what are some of the specific examples that have been worked on in some of your constructions?
So we have been developing quite a lot of material, guidance books, best practices, sustainable procurement plans, but the key for us is to work on what we call engage and reduce. Engage and reduce, it's the process where we engage, as I said, with the stakeholders.
With the big teams, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And there are all type of specific initiatives, such as using locally sourced materials, materials with recycled contents, rapidly renewables materials, bamboo and other new materials, and even things like reducing or deleting the packaging, or thinking about the way we are going to disassemble that product in the disposal phase. Those are things that are starting to be in the minds of our teams and contractors and subcontractors.
Because they all help reduce that embodied carbon, and the transport locally sourced, that helps reduce emissions during the construction phase and stuff. But what about the operational phase as well? Because that's very important in reducing emissions during operation. What are some of the initiatives you have there?
It's, as you said, it's important and it's critical, because the biggest carbon emissions will be when our buildings are under operations, because it's the longest period. So for that, what we can do at construction and design stage are very simple things, such as choosing the right orientation, the maximizing the windows, natural light, glazing, even things like having an appealing staircase to promote the use of the staircase, gardens or natural materials can help to improve the operations, the future operations of those buildings.
Yeah, and you've got sort of two different ideas in a way, both working off each other. One is about the comfort and enjoyment for the employees of a building and the natural light there. But the other is just about reducing the operational carbon and not having light bulbs on so much. The staircase thing, I gather you've got a lift app that you have somewhere as well, which helps people share a lift.
Correct. That's another thing on top of everything. It's not a passive measure, it's something IT related, and using all these new capabilities that IT and new technologies are providing us.
And what about some of the new initiatives around the parks as well? Because I know that we talked in the video so far about attenuation ponds, which are helping with the rainwater runoff that they're a big feature, but some of the other initiatives you put around your buildings.
The amount of initiatives and the variety, it's incredibly big, and we get surprised every day with what we can do. As you said, retention ponds, using wildflowers, local plants to maximize the existing habitat of the animals and plants. As important as all those initiatives in the park, such as I said, retention ponds or local plants, comfortable bike paths, electric vehicle chargers. Apart from that, we are also doing a big effort in our utilities and systems, putting and installing efficient systems to reduce the operational carbon of the buildings. And related to this, we are maximizing our effort to capture accurate data, consumption-related data, because that will help us in the future to make smarter decisions around the consumption and how can we improve the use of the buildings.
And what about then the accreditations that you're working towards, the standards? If you're operating across 12 different countries, that must be a challenge in some ways, but what are you doing to address that?
So we are consistently working on improving our standard, and a few tools that we use for that are the certifications, trusted third-party independent certifications, not only for construction, such as BREEAM or DGNB in Germany. We are also looking for certifications for operations, BREEAM in use, and now we are starting to think about certifications for embodied and operational carbon, because they are starting to be in the market and be recognized.
And GLP, I mean, you want to create an international standard that you can all work to right across all of your developments.
Correct. That's the idea, to be able to say that we all share the same certifications and have the same specifications, no matter where you are.
Well, thank you very much, Nere.
Thank you.
Now let's go to Spain and join Oscar Heras, who is the GLP country manager for Spain. Welcome, Oscar.
Hi, Paul. Very pleased to be here with you today.
And you. Tell us what's been happening in Spain in logistics.
Well, Spain is a very active and dynamic sector right now. One of the most important markets where GLP is very present since 2003. Most of the international players are here, and we are all trying to develop the projects of the next years. We are at GLP willing to lead that race, and we are focusing a lot on social, on well-being, and we'll be speaking also about all kinds of initiatives for the communities.
Yeah, with so many active players, how do you set yourself apart?
Well, we try to provide a different solution to our customers, where we base a lot of our developments not only on the logistic needs, but on the social needs associated for the employees and for the communities where we are. So placemaking is something that we focus a lot. Technology is one of our representative differences, but we think the other difference will be on the social and how we create projects that add value to the local communities.
What does placemaking mean to you in your projects in Spain?
Well, placemaking is key right now in our strategy. The way we think in the future of our projects is on that dynamic market where e-commerce is pushing for changes. We need to be providing products that they are flexible to the demands, but the placemaking is something key we recognize on the ESG policies we have, because communities, users, are really now triggers to the authorities, to the customers itself, to be satisfied with the project. So the placemaking is becoming, and we think it will be even more important to have success, to differentiate for other competitors. And at the end, to have a very good balance with the collectivities where we are, the towns where we are, and the users of our buildings. Not only the managers, but only the people working at our buildings. So placemaking is going to be a key player, and we think we are in a very good position now to be leading the market.
With the parks that you're developing, the numerous parks around Spain, how do you see the placemaking concept in the wider context of the what's going on in Spain economically as a whole?
It is we are in a market where the demand is very, very strong. Competition also. Most of the authorities these days are really having a close look onto the logistics, whatever is urban logistics or standard logistic parks. The placemaking has become a good target together to achieve satisfaction in terms of neighbors, in terms of course, leaders, politicals, but most important is the communities. And the communities of the people working on those warehouses, but also the people that they are living close. So we are really working on all kind of transportation by ecological vehicles. We are speaking about all kind of measures to minimize impact on the communities, and not only to minimize, but to create a positive impact. And this is we have to be very, very careful on what that particular community needs. And we think that's a game changer. We think this is going to bring us on ESG, but particularly on the social part of it, thinking on well-being and promoting people's health. So that's really, really, we think is going to be one of the key players for success in Spain.
Well, as we've heard from others in the programme, logistics brings employment to an area, and the logistics parks is now bringing a kind of quality employment as well to an area. But what about the buildings themselves? What are the quality differentiations that you have there?
We are now in Spain. Every single project we'll develop will be according to the BREEAM very good or excellent standards in terms of sustainability. But not only that, we are right now planning our first BREEAM certification, our first WELL certification for logistic parks. We'll speak in a minute about one of those projects. So we are achieving those maximum specifications in terms of sustainability and in terms of well-being. We aim to be pioneers on having those certifications, not only to have the certification itself, but to motivate us, to push us to the next level. And we think we will probably be one of the first in the Spanish market achieving those targets. Illescas Tauro is one of our most emblematic projects. It is really a very good example, Paul. It's a project where we're speaking about a zone 300,000 square meters that it was abandoned for more than 10 years. We decided to plan to reconvert, to renew this area with the target of not using new green areas. So that was already an abandoned industrial area that was vandalized. So right now we are ending the urbanization works. We are going to develop a very, very sustainable under the BREEAM very good certification. We have our first building under construction, and we have with the municipality joining forces with us to give this project as an example on how we can reconvert brown areas into places where we are sustainable and where well-being people will be at the center of the development. Illescas project, it has plenty of initiatives for the community, for the local community, for the users, and we think it's going to be a very, very good example these days where we see a high consumption of green areas on how we can reconvert abandoned brownfields. That's a very good example.
So this is regeneration of a former industrial site, as you say, a brownfield site. That is what we'd say here. Well, let's take a look at another example. This is Oaxis.
Yeah, Oaxis, it's going to be a game changer, not only for us, but for the Spanish market. Oaxis is an urban project 9 kilometers from city center, where we want to develop the emblematic project in Spain in terms of well-being, in terms of communities, again, is placemaking. Why this project is going to be so emblematic? It is the location in the city center of the capital. It's going to gain solutions, green solutions for urban logistics.
This is situated just south of Madrid, isn't it?
Correct. It's on the M30. That is one of the circular roads of Madrid, where we are designing all the transportation to avoid heavy vehicles going to the city. We have done 2 mobility plans with the satisfaction of the authorities, and only electrical vehicles will go to the city. The big advantage is this is located in Villaverde. That is a neighborhood where there is, unfortunately, a high rate of unemployment, where we think we're going to have a very good impact on employment on the zone. We are also talking about brownfield. That was also an industrial part that was not currently used. So again, we're going to reconvert a non-used brownfield into a modelic green project. People at the center of the development. We are speaking about sport areas, relaxed areas, canteens, all kinds of connections, not only with the users of the park, but opening the doors of the park to the population, to the neighborhood. And we think we're going to create a very good atmosphere on those health park areas. We are progressing very well on the planning, and we think this project is going to be a game changer on the Spanish market.
So again, an example where you think you're going to have a very good impact on the local community. But tell us about some of the other examples in Spain and around Spain where you've been doing some slightly different things to get that connection with the local communities.
We love these kinds of initiatives. We did one very interesting in Valls and in Tarragona, where the land we were about to build, there were centenary olive trees. So we decided we're going to save them all. And not only that, we're going to produce olive oil with the local communities. We joined forces with the local communities, with the farmers. We saved 98% of the olive trees, and we did produce our organic GLP olive oil that we distributed only to customers and the community. Of course, that was a really interesting project. So now we are planning to do, again, a similar one in another project called in Masquefa, also in Barcelona region. This is a zone for vineyards, and our intention is to produce also a cava. Cava is a white wine, it's like a sparkling wine, where the local community also for centuries have been living off. So again, we are not only going to save all those vineyards, we're going to plant more, and we pretend to do our GLP cava that, of course, will be shared with the community and our customers. Just playing and joining forces with the local community, with the local farmers. And that we think is a very interesting initiative.
Well, that sounds good. So not only the wine business, the olive oil business and the logistics business happening in Spain right now. So thank you very much for joining us, Oscar. A lot going on. Any other particular projects worth mentioning, Gwyn?
Yes, Paul, there's huge amounts going on. And, you know, as a business, like I say, we're fully committed to delivering, you know, the best in class facilities, you know, as our future Magna Parks come forward, really having a close eye on ESG and really being kind of pioneering, really. I think the approach we're looking to take across the business is seeing these not just as logistics parks, but logistics clusters that bring all of these different dimensions into play, whether it's education, research, innovation, recreation, wellness, all coming together, you know, as part of our developments, really.
Any final thoughts from you, Natali?
Well, I think it all demonstrates a strong commitment to ESG. ESG has become fundamental to our business, as you can see through all these videos and the projects we're delivering across Europe. I think it's essential also to say when we can transfer expertise, knowledge and know-how, we do it, but also every project is different. Every project is about the local community, is understanding the landscape, understanding the environment, and then deliver the best. And I guess that's what comes to the definition of the placemaking, right? You have to have a building and a logistics park that's here for a long time, and we can look back at the legacy it created and it will create in the future.
That's a very good point to end there, Natali. Thank you. That's it today from us. I hope you've enjoyed this look around Europe and a glimpse into what GLP is doing in the logistics space and how placemaking helps to foster that all-important connection with communities. Thanks to our guests today, Gwyn.
Thank you very much, Paul.
And to you, Natali.
Thank you very much.
And to all the people who joined us on Zoom. Goodbye.